Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Hello from the beautiful Philippines. It's a nice afternoon over here, and let me tell you, I'm wishing you guys have the best, most productive week of the year this week, right? It's always great to get started on the right foot, so I'm hoping you guys are doing well out there. And this video comes from a conversation I had with my wife, because she asked me what I was thinking. And of course, I'm always thinking about video games most of the time. I had one of those looks, where I'm just looking off to the side, and she's like, "What are you thinking about?" And I'm like, I don't think Twisted Metal should ever be remade, right? That's the idea for this video. And, a lot of the topics that I bring on here is just topics that I would like to talk about with somebody. But here in the Philippines, there isn't that many retro gamers that I know. Right, and I'm always taking care of the baby, stuff like that, spending time with the family. So I don't have as much time to interact with people as I used to. I'm trying to answer, most of your comments when you guys have questions. But other than that, these off topics that just come to me when I'm just thinking about stuff. It's the kind of stuff that you talk about when you're having a beer with a buddy or something like that, or you're just sitting around, getting some conversation going. That's really what this is, and I was thinking about Twisted Metal and having them do any type of remake in this market. I don't think so, man. Some things are better left in the past, and I think that Twisted Metal is one of them. The environment, the environment of AAA gaming right now and the way games are being made is absolutely horrible nowadays. Let's look at the flops, right, of 2024. Let's see. There were flops, or people, just didn't like the game, but there were flops that deserved to be flops that are really representative of what's going on in a lot of the industry right now. Let's start off with Dustborn, right? When you think of games prioritizing messaging over gameplay, Dustborn is absolutely one of them. When you think about corporate gaming garbage, right, the things they do to ruin games, how about Star Wars Outlaws, right? One of the biggest disasters ever. Generic products like foam stars, right? It's just, oh, geez. They're just trying to make a Splatoon clone, right? What about the disaster that was Skull and Bones? Reportedly over 200 million years over all that time, with a $70 price tag for what? Absolute garbage? You can think about the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. And, of course, the biggest disaster of them all, Concord. Do you think this is the best gaming environment to produce a video game? No, absolutely not. If Twisted Metal 2 was produced today, can you imagine it? Can you imagine the protagonist? One of them would have to be mandatory a woman. Would have to be. There's a woman in the game, right? But the way they would do it, they would put a woman in the game. Because she's a woman, she would be one of the playable characters. The other person would be a minority, and everybody else you would have to buy, right? Everybody else would be a microtransaction. Not only that, every area would be a season pass, as they call it. Twisted Metal was a great game. It was an amazing game, and it really was endemic of the time, right? It really was representative of that time. It was gritty, it was nonsense, it was comical, it didn't take itself too seriously. And when you even think about the graphics, just think about the graphics, right? Think about today's environment. This kind of game would fit like the Battle Royale model. What do you think the graphics they would use? It would look like every other generic, Fortnite or the Veilguard or some crap like that. I'd much rather have the old graphics, right? I'd rather much have those type of big graphics than we do those graphics. I mean, the graphics on the PlayStation 1 have more character than these do, at least for retro gamers. So the game itself, if it was to come out today, if they were going to remake it today, It would absolutely ruin it. Look, they're already ruining simple games like, JRPGs. They censor them now. Look at what they did to Lollipop. Censored that too. So how could you keep, a good game like this? How could you keep the spirit, and everything else of the game? You couldn't. You couldn't in today's environment. This game should be left in the past well enough alone, right? Because it really represents that time. It represents a time where creativity ruled the day, where people were making games because they wanted to make good games, good entertaining games that people would enjoy. This is the reason why the retro market right now is so strong, because people are not delivering the kind of games that people want. So people are looking towards the past. They see the product today, they compare it to what they've had before, and it doesn't align, right? It's not even close. They're not even in the same universe. Some of the games are so bad. Now there are good games out there. I'm not saying that there isn't, right? But if we were just to imagine that Sony in this environment with the directions that they're moving in would actually release this game, because they're the ones who have the right to it, would release this game, or remaster it to a true form, I can't see it. I don't believe it. I don't think that they would actually do that, and that's why I prefer these games to stay in the past. I don't mind playing them on my PlayStation. I don't mind playing the old disc. I don't mind if, people emulate it and enjoy it. If you want to improve the game as a modder out there and make it crisper and, improve the graphics, more power to you. But this isn't something we should have to give to this modern audience, which doesn't exist, which is a fake audience made up by corporations, because this pretend audience doesn't buy any games, right? Whenever they make these games for these audiences, they always flop because not enough people buy them, because that audience doesn't exist. It only exists in boardrooms where political correctness is the rule of the day. That's where they exist, but they're not real people. Real gamers want fun games, regardless of, whatever. Games are to disconnect, When you think of Twisted Metal 2, do you think of anarchy? Can you imagine if they make the game today? The messaging would be first anarchy, because, this system is evil, and, capitalism is bad, and the patriarchy sucks, and all this other crap. Right? That's what the game would be first about. And that's how they would ruin it. At least in this environment. Could it be made at another time? Probably. But not today. Not today. I don't think that today's audience deserves our game the way it existed. I don't think today's audience, and specifically the press, would leave it alone. Right, that'll always be talking about this and that and the other, and what stereotype is being portrayed and which one isn't, and who is underrepresented, and all this other crap that we're tired of hearing about. Oh no, man, leave my games just the way they are. Twisted Metal was perfect back then, and it's still perfect now. With the graphic it has, let me tell you, I would play Twisted Metal 2 1,000 times before I would play any of the crap that I just told you about, before I would play Concord, before I would play any of the failed games like Suicide Squad, Skull and Bones. Oh, gee, so many. Would you play Foam Stars instead of Twisted Metal 2? Would you play, I don't know, Dustborn instead of Twisted Metal 2? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. If you're a real gamer, if you're a real retro gamer, if you love video games that are well made, there is no way in hell you would pick those games over this one. Don't mess with perfection. Keep your grubby hands out of our retro games. All right, guys, those are my thoughts. Thank you for joining me. These are just random thoughts that I have, guys. Don't take this stuff too seriously, okay? I don't want you guys fighting in the comment section over just random thoughts that come to my head, after a long day's work or after changing some diapers. This is just conversations you would you know, having the arcade sometimes, or I don't know, just chit-chatting with a friend, and that's what we're doing here. All right, humans, I'll catch you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button for me. It really helps the channel. Take care.